Hey guys, Underground Geek here, and as I drive to the gym this morning, I want to talk about a few things that's happened in the Twitterverse in the last day or so, mainly dealing with the the mental breakdown of Dan Slott lately here, and how quickly all the other comic book pros jumped onto the bandwagon. So let me pull up the tweets here that I'm talking about. But of course, Dan Slott had to lead the charge. He says, pro tip, if you're an aspiring artist who wants to break in someday, an online history where you insult other artists' work is a bad thing. First of all, can I intersect here and say that you probably don't need to badmouth the fans either? To me, that kind of seems like counterintuitive. Not bad, or not good. So maybe you shouldn't do that. But I mean, it's such a dumb tweet that he actually has to comment his rebuttal or his backpedal into every single person that comments his tweet. And you can see it on there. Every time somebody tweets back about it, he has to comment his backpedal answer once again. And I mean, you wouldn't have to do that if you didn't have crazy stuff coming out of your mouth constantly. But anyway, it says, this post was meant as some basic common sense. Most people also get that there's a huge difference between insults and criticism. Maybe take your own advice. If somebody's asking you a question like I did one time, could you not block me in the next tweet after you say something rude? I mean, that seems like pretty logical advice. Why don't you do that? Then you wouldn't have the nickname Otto Blocktavius. I mean, did you not think that maybe you should follow your own advice? No, because you live in an echo chamber. But anyway, so immediately when he says this, Heather Antos, his little minion, immediately jumps on the bandwagon, and she's all for it. You know, she just loves it. She says, "Hey gang, friendly reminder of the basic rule of life: don't be a douchebag. Insulting and attacking others online, not cool. Okay, maybe take your own advice. And while we're at it, attacks don't equal criticism. Well, how about criticism doesn't equal assault? I believe somebody told me that in a tweet this morning. And also, when somebody says they want to sleep with you, maybe don't take that as they're going to come murder you in your house. But anyway, but you know, that was the thing with her. She's been shown to be just like the rest of them. She lives in an echo chamber. She's all for the garbage that comes out of their mouths. She retweets it constantly, and she's getting to the point now to where every other tweet is a retweet about Trump. So she's well on her way to being just like the rest of them. And it's funny, she had a comment here where she was talking to Weaponized Rage. She said, haha, yes, I am intelligent enough to understand people can say positive things to other people for reasons other than sexual intent. Really? Because anytime somebody talks about you, you instantly block them because you're saying, ew, boys, ew. But anyway, so yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say about that. It's just, I mean, it's so dumb, you know. And even Nick Spencer jumped on the bandwagon. He started talking about it. And let's talk about Nick Spencer there for a second. He tweets about barf as if it's some kind of I don't know, maybe the best thing that's ever been written in Marvel before. He said, you know, CBR did a write-up on it, and he says, love this write-up on CBR, and yes, the McAllisters were meant to be the center of the event. Well, you could have fooled me because they didn't show up after. They were in issue 1 for like 1 or 2 pages, and then it didn't show up again until like issue 9, and that was pretty much him just barfing up a piece of the cube, and that was pretty much all there was to it. You can't like somebody if you don't know anything about them. But anyway, and then, you know, Tom Brevoort jumps on the wagon about this whole deal, and I mean, it's getting silly at this point. I mean, they think that just because all the guys in the coffee room think it's funny, that it works. And if they would look and see where they have like 6 likes out of 100,000 followers, that maybe what they're doing is not working. I mean, that directly mirrors their comic book sales. There's probably 100, let's see, there's got to be 1 million people that read comics in the United States, and only 20,000 buy your comic. Maybe that's the inclination to your sales. You know, maybe that directly correlates to your attitude, and maybe you should have a better attitude. But that's just me. But you know, it's Nick Spencer, Tom Brevoort, Dan Slott, and Heather Antos. It's the same people. You know, at this point it's just silly. They don't understand that they're killing their brand, killing their comic book sales. And then Dan Slott has the nerve to then call out DCEU fans for no reason, and says, want to work in comics, avoid having an online history where you insult artists, not criticize, insult. And then he says, the DCEU fans say, you've insulted Batman vs. Superman, and has Batman and Superman playing a game together like a child. I mean, these people, they have no... You can tell that they tweet and then immediately just get off their phone and go about their business. Like, they do not care what they say. They think that what they say has no impact on anything, and that they'll just get a couple of retweets and go about their business. They totally think that this is an entertainment thing. They don't realize that what they're saying is directly affecting their business until somebody jumps on them about it, and then they just immediately block them, and then just start doing what they're doing all over again. To me, there should become a point to where if somebody's making 8 different Twitters so that they can go in and comment about stuff, and then you're blocking them, maybe just listen to what they're saying. Because if they're doing all that and they're not cussing you out and they're just saying statements, they may be on to something. I'm talking about you, Captain Cummings. I like that Power Rangers Twitter, by the way. But so then Dan Slott goes on to tweet about Trump again, you know, retweeting what someone says about Trump. It says, a guy who dodged the draft, colluded with Russia, and defended Nazis gets to decide who's American enough to stay in this country. Actually, no, the law dictates who's American to stay in this country, and that's an American. I mean, that's pretty plain and simple. I mean, it's funny how it's always the people that were born in America that don't understand that only people born in America should stay in America, but maybe because you're the one that has the privilege. Maybe if you went to Mexico one time and just started trying to live there, and then the Mexicans said, get out of our country, then you would know what we're talking about. It's the fact that you're there illegally, okay? You don't understand what you're talking about. Oh yeah, and here's something right here. So Dan goes on to call Captain Cummings a crap poster and someone who's actively harassing female Marvel employees. Are you a female, Dan? Is there something you want to tell us? Because he's just talking about you. Just report his tweets if offensive, block him, and move on. Okay, so how about we report you? How about that? Because you're actively trolling someone and hunting someone down constantly on Twitter. You're constantly, for somebody that has been blocked by you, you're constantly following him and trolling him. It is weird. Like, dude, you have some kind of infatuation with Captain Cummings because you follow him closer than an ex-girlfriend. I'm just saying. You know, and all he was doing was talking about Eric Larson and how he lives in an echo chamber and he hasn't been relevant since the 90s. And then you have to, like, hunt him down. But then right after that, Dan goes on to say, oh, yeah, you in London? Why not come by tonight? I'll be signing at Forbidden Planet's London Megastore. Yay! From 6 to 7, happy face. Are you psychotic, dude? Like, you just called somebody a crap poster and said block them and all that stuff, and then you're immediately like, hey, have a great day, come by and sign my signing. I mean, this guy's crazy. And he's always, I mean, he's back to what I was saying a while ago about his tweet. He's constantly having to go back and rebuttal himself to like everybody. And let's see what else we got. Moving on, let's talk about Mags Visaggio again here for a minute. You know, she actively on Twitter supports Antifa. That right there should be enough for a firing. There's no way that DC hasn't seen this. They must be asleep at the wheel right now, but once they realize it, I think she's gone. But all she does is tweet about Trump, like the rest of them, and then support Antifa. She needs gone. Let's get rid of her. That's about all you can say about her. Here's one of her tweets. She says, but if the intent was something other than a president this cruel, that is more significant. Because she cannot stand that the regime is over. They cannot stand that this echo chamber they've been living in for the past 8 years is over with, and they're having to deal with reality. They cannot stand it. So, Mags, you need to be gone. Let's get rid of her. Let's move on. That's pretty much all I got to say about her. She doesn't deserve a lot of my time. She badmouthed Batman animated series yesterday, calling, pretty much stating that Batman beats up poor people and then goes back to his big mansion. So you totally don't understand that what Batman stands for. So therefore, you don't need to be writing anything to do with DC Comics because he's a front runner for the comics. Please move along. Nothing to see here. And then another thing here, Cameron Esposito, or whatever her name is, yesterday, he, she, whatever it is, yesterday was talking about the Magic School Bus. You know that kid show you used to watch when you were little where they was talking about science things, and I love the science when we were kids and stuff. I used to love that show. I would watch that show all the time. I got the books whenever the Scholastic thing came around. I loved it. Well, just so you know, it's very important that everybody knows that on the new show, she's going to be a lesbian because reasons. Yeah, that's what we need in our kids' show. We need to make sure that everybody knows that the bus driver is a lesbian. Because that was always important when I was going to school. When I was like, 9 or 10, I'd be sitting there on the school bus looking at that bus driver going, I wonder if she's a lesbian. Because that was going through my mind at 10 years old. But anyway, has a picture here where she's dressed up like, she looks like the old school bus driver. I don't know if it's the old one meeting the new one or what it is. Or maybe she's dating. I don't know. It's the weirdest thing. But she dresses up like the old one. And then you have a picture of the old one and the new one together. And it says, kids, I have something to tell you about Miss Fizzle. That you're ruining it, maybe. That you're going to try to ruin the show. I mean, that's what it looks like to me. It looks like to me you're trying to push your ideologies onto a show because you want to validate your existence. That's what it looks like to me. But that's just me. And, it's just sad. They have to take everything away. They have to destroy everything that they don't like. Nothing has meaning. Nothing has bearing. We have to destroy it and move on because we cannot stand that it stands for something other than what we believe in. But anyway, that's pretty much all I got to say about the subject. That's all there is to say. It's sad at this point that comics have come down to this, but what's going to happen is it's kind of like a natural way of doing things. The bad gets weeded out and the good stuff is all that remains. And that's what's starting to happen here. I don't know how the new Ragman's going to be, but I'm going to check it out. It looks like it may be good. In DC, they have a lot of good titles right now because they don't care about politics. On Marvel, you have 4 or 5 good comics because they managed to barely talk about politics. And that's what's going to happen. The good ones are going to continue to do good. The bad ones are just going to get weeded out. And they may get new comics, you know, these SJW writers and editors and artists, they may get different titles after their titles get canceled for not selling, but eventually they will be weeded out. Now, if they don't get weeded out before the whole comic book industry goes under, that remains to be seen. I don't know if that's going to happen. Captain Cummins was kind of talking about that this morning. You know, it may come to the point where they destroy the industry, and that's very sad. But I believe that it would come back in a different form, maybe. But comic books is one of those things that it's immortal. I think that more than likely one of these days they'll stop doing paper. Maybe their sales will get so bad they'll say, hey, we need to go digital all the time. But it's a matter of time before something like that changes anyway. But I still think they would go strong after that. And I think that once they did that, the paper sales would go up on the old things because everybody would be collecting them almost like a time capsule, you know, of things. Somebody was talking about that today. But it will go on. Comics will go on. It's one of those things that everybody's always going to like. It's just what form it takes later on may change, you know. But times change. Times they are changing. But anyway, guys, that was just my little rant this morning. Tell me what you think about the subject. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you later, boys. Bye.